An angel does not fall unless the angel trips. And I don't think that occurs anywhere in the Bible.
Well, along those lines, what role is Satan in Judaism?
He's a good guy.
He's what?
He's a good guy?
I don't. Is that how Judaism? Because the word Satan, as far as pronunciation, I'm thinking of it, Ashatan. It was simply the accuser or opposer. What we would think.
Where does Satan? If you want to go down this road now, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Satan first appear in the Bible?
That would be Job.
No.
No?
But thank you for playing our game.
Okay.
No, it would not be Job. Where does he first appear in the Bible? You mentioned it earlier, by the way.
The aspect of what? The serpent?
No.
Where?
Serpent was a serpent. Yeah.
Right. I thought we had established that, and you had said about I mentioned it earlier, and I'm kind of like, all right.
Where does Satan appear essentially by name in the Bible?
Okay, I'm gonna try to cheat and be using my companion Bible, the eSword or whatnot that I use. Oh, 1 Chronicles 21:1.
No, but thank you for playing our game.
That's what comes up with.
Well, obviously, you have to get something that is better than that because that's wrong.
Okay, I'm curious now. Where does the first...
I figured you would be curious, or at least I hoped you would be curious. You mentioned talking animals before.
Yeah.
And we said serpents talk, and what else talk?
A donkey.
Okay. So the story of Bilam and Balak, where this donkey talks, why does the donkey talk?
Because he was hitting them.
Is that why he was hitting them? Why he talks?
No, the donkey wouldn't move, and because the donkey was supposedly seeing...
Seeing what?
Satan. The accuser.
Seeing what?
He was seeing something that the man wasn't seeing.
An angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
And the angel's name is?
I'm assuming you're going with Satan.
Well, that's what it says.
It does?
The angel was opposing.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it says. Hasatan. With Satan, actually.
Okay.
But that's the job. You see, each angel has a job. An angel does not have free will, and an angel cannot do whatever it is they want to. The job of Satan is to oppose. Now, this first appearance of Satan, this angel, in the Bible, what is he doing? What is he opposing?
The travel of...
Bilam.
Yeah, with wherever he was going.
Where was he going?
I don't know.
Okay. So the story very, very quickly is Balak was a king, and Bilam was supposedly this seer, prophet, whatever you want to call it. And the king saw the dust cloud of the 6.5 million people who were coming towards his kingdom, of the Jewish people who were traveling through the desert. And he's not a happy king. And so he goes to Bilam and says, I want you to go out and curse these people. And Bilam says, okay, gets on his donkey, and out he goes. God whispers in his ear and says, go home. So he turns around and goes home. The king comes again, finds him sitting there. He says, hey, I told you to go out and curse these people. He says, okay, gets back on his donkey, goes out to curse the people. God whispers in his ear, says, go home. He turns around and goes home. Finally, the king comes and finds him sitting there by his fire, not doing what he asked him to do. And he says, hey, I told you to go out and curse these people. if you go out and curse these people, I'll give you camels, I'll give you sheep, I'll give you gold, I'll give you silver. And Bilam says, okay, now it's really worthwhile, so I'm going to go out there and curse these people. So he's on his way out, and the donkey stops. And no matter what Bilam does, he can't get the donkey to go ahead. And he beats him and so forth and so on. And finally, the donkey's had enough of this. And he turns to him and he says, hey, dummy, can't you see what the situation is here? Why am I going? And Bilam looks up, and sure enough, he sees the angel, the Satan, preventing the donkey from moving. Now, my question is this. Was it a good thing or a bad thing for Bilam to go out and curse the Jewish people?
It would have been a bad thing.
So Satan is doing something that is bad or good?
He's doing the will of he was doing something good.
He was doing something good. So Satan is a good guy.
Interesting.
Yes, very. But basically, it's not a question of whether Satan was a good guy or a bad guy. Satan was an angel of the Lord, and he can only do what God tells him to do. And we see that later on in the story of Job, where God is proud of his servant Job, and he says, look at my servant. And Satan says, come on, give me a break here. You've given Job everything.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't he praise you? Take it away from him and see how fast he curses your name. And God says to him, okay, you can do anything you want to Job except. So God puts limitations on what Satan can do. So Satan has no free will.
Right.
He can only do what God allows him to do. Like every other angel, he has no free will. He's a complete servant of God and can only do what God tells him to do.
Okay.
In this particular case of Balak and Bilam, Satan's a good guy.
Okay. See, that's where the thing with the Isaiah 45 verse 7, where it says, I love
playing Rolodex Bible. You're going to wait till I get there. Isaiah what? 47?
45 7.
45 7. Whoa.
I form the light and create darkness.
My Rolodex doesn't go that fast. What's the question? I create peace and I create evil?
Yeah, I, the Lord, do all these things. It seems the Lord is admitting that he is the author of evil.
Of course. What is evil? It goes back to Cain and Abel, or rather to the tree of good and evil. What is good and what is evil? How do we make a determination?
Well, the word evil, as it comes up, is bad or evil.
Bad. Why is something bad? What makes it bad?
It says from a primary root of to spoil, break to pieces, figuratively, to be good for nothing.
Why is something bad? How do you determine whether something is good or something is bad?
Wouldn't that be, as Christians say, it's making a moral judgment?
Well, it's making a moral judgment, I agree, because God is the one who sets the boundaries, the morality. And if it goes against that morality, is it good or bad?
Well, I would say, based on Christian ideas and so forth, that it would be that if it goes against what God wants, that is bad or sin.
So that's how you would determine what is good and what is bad, what is sin and what is not. If God says this is what you should do, and you don't do it, on that scenario, is it good or bad?
It would be a sin. It would be akin to a parent saying,
when God says he creates good and he creates evil, well, the fact that he says, do this, do this, do this, don't do that, and you go against the do's and against the not do's, that's how you determine what is good and what is evil. So, yeah, God is the author of both good and evil.
It would be akin to a parent saying, do not eat a cookie before dinner.
Correct.
And if you do that they told you not to, that's a sin to the parent type of thing.
Well, that's bad or evil.
Right.
If you take the cookie and you eat it right in front of them, that's real evil. If it was the last cookie in the box, that's pure evil.
Okay, that, in a sense, I want to save the aspect of the morals and the evil and so forth, and that the morality issue for another conversation, because that's a big one to get into.
Okay.
With,
that's assuming we're going to have another conversation.
I would hope we would.
Oh, I have no problem.
It's one I enjoy this, and I hope the listeners are, in a sense, gaining a lot of insight as far as from the Jewish point of view.
As soon as I said that Satan's a good guy, everybody turned it off.
Oh, no, I have some, actually, I have probably a bunch of, they term themselves Satanists, so it would be...
Okay. Well, they might be upset to find out that Satan is a good guy.
I just find it interesting, the different perceptions, especially the aspect of angels don't have free will. The aspect of free will, if God is all-knowing, then does anyone have free will?
That's a great question. The answer, the simple answer is yes. In spite of the fact that God may know what you're going to do, you don't.
Right.
So you still have the free will to choose.
But that is actually an illusion.
No, it's not an illusion. It's you made the choice. You have no clue. You know, when you walk down the road and you've got a right turn and a left turn, before you got there, you have no clue as to which way you're going. God knows which way you're going, but He's not there manipulating the strings to make sure that... Hold on one second. I'm on the phone. Sorry about that. My son came home and the dog greeted him. Dave.
So I guess the dog was trying to get in.
I'm sorry?
The dog was trying to get in on the conversation.
Yes, the dog's always trying to get in on the conversation. That's what they do. But anyhow, you know, if we didn't have free will, in spite of the fact that God knew what we were going to do, God isn't directing how we are doing it or what we are doing, because then we would just be simple puppets and there would be no free will. But God is not saying, okay, you have to choose the right. He knows that we're going to make the left turn before we make it. We don't know. And He didn't say to us, you know, He didn't whisper in our ear and says, when you get to the crossroads, make the left turn. So we still have the free will.
Okay, but that, in a sense, begs the question of the things that, use the term motivate or cause us, make us inclined to make a specific choice, that can also come down to DNA and upbringing, which would...
Or it could come down to, well, you said upbringing. It could also come down to morality or what have you, depending upon what choices we're talking about. If we're talking about making a left or a right, I don't know if that has to do with upbringing or DNA. I think it has to do with, gee, do I feel like making a left or making a right today? If we're talking about other types of choices, then yeah, I would say that there are other things that feed into it.
Okay, the only thing I was thinking of with that was what Sam Harris has mentioned with the aspect of neuroscience, that the experiences we have and the genetic background that we have can greatly influence the direction of the choices that we will make.
Well, you know, I don't say that I would disagree with that, because if you have a bad experience with a dog, for example, you're certainly going to avoid dogs. If you have a bad experience with a roller coaster, you're certainly not going to go running to Hershey Park to get on the roller coaster.
Right.
And so forth and so on. So yeah, I would say that experience feeds into it. But then let's take that again. Do we then have free will? Because if I had a bad experience with a dog, in advance what I'm going to do when I see a dog running down the street, right?
Right.
So I have no free will because of what has occurred previously. You know exactly what I'm going to do. You can, if you want to use the term, predict it.
Right.
But
see, in a way, that's where the aspect of do we or don't we does come into my mind, because it's one, if you can predict literally the exact moves somebody is going to do, did they really have the choice to do that, or was it simply a byproduct of...
It's a good question, and I don't think you can take free will out of the equation, because I can tell you that I am terrified of heights, and I hate roller coasters and things of that nature. Yet I force myself to go on roller coasters every now and then, just to see if I can do it. So you would not be able to predict what I'm going to do.
Okay, but I could probably predict you will be white-knuckled on the bar.
I think I actually go beyond the white to some other color, because I'm literally terrified of it. But I went on the Tower of Terror in Orlando in Disney, and I was lucky enough to get the seat without the railing. It didn't please the people to my left and to my right, because I elbowed both of them out of the way and grabbed their railing, because there was no way I was going to do this without holding on to them. But you can't predict what I'm going to do.
Oh, that I would have wanted to see.
Well, there was a picture. Actually, they take the instant photograph, just to see the fingers dropping, and as I walked out after I was able to finally reclaim my legs, everybody was standing around going, "Hey, look at that guy," and it was me.
Oh, but I want to say it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And I
certainly enjoyed it.
I definitely want to continue the conversation on different topics, because
it would be my pleasure.
There's so much that insights into differences in how someone that is Jewish looks at these things versus how...
As long as you and your listeners understand that I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have a background and I have information, but I clearly do not know everything.
Right. I mean, the aspect of anybody that thinks they know everything is basically they're lying to themselves, or they're fooling themselves.
Yes, well, I guarantee you I'm not lying or fooling to myself. I don't know everything. In fact, I've got a heck of a lot to learn.
Well, I think to bring out my inner geek at the end of this, it was in Star Trek First Contact with Data, where he said to the Borg, believing oneself to be perfect is often the sign of a delusional mind.
Yes.
But anyway, I once again thank you for the interesting and stimulating conversation.
It's my pleasure. And hopefully we can do this again.
You have been listening to the Occult Think Tank. Feel free to leave your comments in the comments section below. Later, people.